A carcass will attract every big predator for miles around. A male Majungasaurus attracted to the feast. It is more than capable of challenging for the carcass. Majungasaurus has short arms and can't grasp. Like tyrannosaurs, it's all about the bite. The shape of Majungasaurus' skull and teeth suggests a very different biting style to the flesh-tearing dinosaurs. With a broad, short and muscular skull, it was a dino better adapted to biting and gripping rather than slashing its prey. This fight is about more than just winning the feeding rights to a carcass. When the bite marks on the mauled Majungasaurus remains were studied more closely, the marks on the bones were found to match the only large carnivore in the region. There is no bigger killer in these lands than Majungasaurus. This is the first irrefutable evidence of dinosaur cannibalism. It might seem shocking, but it's a behavior that clearly shows the most successful killers will exploit any situation to their maximum advantage.
At that time, Wyoming was full of dinosaurs. Most were the lumbering plant eaters like Diplodocus and the armored Stegosaurus. Far less common were the carnivores, but this hasn't stopped them becoming infamous, like the Allosaurus. These fearsome predators were the T-Rex of their day, and Al was one of them. But like every living thing, these monsters started off small and delicate. Despite this, science can still tell us something about how Al probably started life. We're very familiar with how life begins for humans, but you might be surprised to learn how a Jurassic carnivore raises its baby. Evidence for this comes from remarkable fossils found on the Atlantic coast of Portugal.
was in this place that we found in 1993 a small eggshell like this that we figured out there was from a dinosaur. Further years we've dug it and we found more than 100 eggs. That makes one of the biggest nests in the world.
But more significantly, they found something which could tell them who these eggs belonged to. The most rare and sought-after fossils of all, tiny preserved bones of baby dinosaurs, still curled up inside their shell.
We have found more than 200 embryonic bones. With them, we can say exactly which kind of dinosaur we have. In this case, it's a meat-eater dinosaur, a carnivore, and we have almost all skeleton here.
And if there were eggs, there must have been a nest. Bizarrely, there is information about this in the fossilized eggshells themselves. Under the microscope, scientists can identify holes in the shell. Their large size allows maximum air for the embryo to breathe, which tells them that these eggs were buried, packed together in an underground nest. Scientists know this because there are animals alive today that do the same thing. The crocodiles. This is not surprising, because crocodiles and alligators are one of the dinosaurs' closest living relatives, and with scaly skin and a mouthful of teeth, it's easy to see the family resemblance. So Al was born like a crocodile, but grew like a bird, probably reaching full size in just 6 to 8 years. And by the time a child is just starting school, Al would already have been a fine physical specimen.
It's the last time I'll play with a dinosaur. Dinosaurs.
So how did he feed this fantastic growth? Again, his two living relatives may provide a clue, but they have very different approaches to eating.
Their strategy in feeding is plenty of time. That's all they've got, is a lot of time to wait for something to make a mistake, a person or another animal. It's bite first and then ask questions later. That's what they do. They grab something that when it offers the opportunity for it. Such as my leg right now. Let me move this animal. She's going to be real testy here. This is a little female. Move, girl. Thank you.
Oh, now here's a great opportunity to see a basic difference between a bird and an alligator. What we see is how a bird is choosing to feed. The great part is anytime you see a bird like this feeding, is it can actually take and pick out its food amongst the twigs and sticks and other pebbles and things here. It selectively picks them up and swallows them. An alligator, on the other hand, will strike at anything it sees.
What we're going to try to do here is trick these alligators into coming after the dinosaur down here. See, they don't really care what it is they're grabbing. They're opportunistic eaters. They see something, they perceive it as a food item, and they go for it.
The alligators use their excellent sense of smell to track down their prey. And dipped in fish oil, even the inedible toy seems tempting. In fact, the differences between the bird and the alligator's behavior is reflected in the shape of their brain. A look inside Al's head could provide direct evidence of his behavior, and although Allosaurus are long dead, a remarkable fossil has let scientists do just that. It's a brain, cast from the inside of an Allosaurus skull. How does this compare with his relatives?
Well, let's start with a bird. Here's a model of a bird. If we look at the way the bird is, we find out that a bird has a very large region that's dedicated to processing information and a very small region dedicated to sensory inputs such as smelling something. Well, what about an alligator? If we take the alligator brain and compare that to Allosaurus, we see something that looks very, very similar. This is sensory information that comes in here and then goes to a region that's actually rather small for processing that information, and it snaps at it. So it just strikes and hits whatever smells right. That compares extremely well with Allosaurus. Therefore, these features tell us that if we want to compare Allosaurus to a modern-day animal, that would be an alligator, because their brains resemble each other very, very much. Consequently, their behaviors must have been very similar.
This vast herd of Centrosaurus are on the move. From their nesting sites on coastal lowlands to the east. Unwittingly, they're moving towards almost certain death. Seasonal monsoons drives the Centrosaurs inland, away from coastal flooding. It's what the Dysplatosaurus have been waiting for. Herding behavior protects the many, but at the expense of the few. And things are about to get worse for the Centrosaurs. With a flooded river ahead and the Dysplatosaurus behind, the stage is now set for a massacre. But despite the rich pickings, it's not the Dysplatosaurus that are responsible for the scale of the slaughter. There's an even more deadly killer at work here. Severe monsoon rains have transformed shallow rivers into lethal torrents. Killer is the weather itself. A time when both egg and the brooding parent are permanently at risk. smaller oviraptors are no more than a nuisance. Larger predators are a different story. Unwilling to leave the nest, the adult protects its offspring, first by hiding, and if that fails, it goes on the offensive. Protecting the nest means Gigantoraptor's young are more likely to survive. It now seems clear that the instinct to nurture and care for a nest of eggs had its origins with the dinosaurs. It's a behavior that was so successful it's still widespread today with birds. But the fossils show something else. These animals all died sitting on their nests. It seems that the threats don't always come from predators. Sometimes the real danger comes from the most unlikely places. These dinosaurs were all buried alive.
Up and down the river valleys, the Matabarosaurus sense the change and begin their long trek north. Occasionally, some of these giant migrants get lost in the forest. But what for them is a minor problem can mean life or death for the Lielanosaura clan. The noise these huge herbivores make prevents the Lielanosaurus sentry from hearing other, more threatening sounds. The giant carnivore has killed the dominant female. It is a bitter blow. Winter is coming, and without a lead female, there will be tension in the clan.